What's up, Wizards? It's Dev, and don't worry, Ziggy's here too. We're from Mtg Magic Talk. Got a special one for you today, so finally get to unveil my exclusive preview. But first, to kind of build some tension, I do have 3 cards from yesterday that I want to go over. It's actually my top 3, plus an honorable mention from yesterday. But if you're not interested in that, first of all, but second of all, I guess you can skip to this timestamp if you really just want to hear me talk about the brand new card. I'll see you on the other side. But for now, let me bring up 3 cards from yesterday that I really liked. Now, this honorable mention that I'm on about is Doomscar Titan. This is a bit of a sleeper to my mind, even though it looks like garbage when you first read it. But I've got my eye on it. I'll tell you why in a second. Let me read the card first. It's 6 mana, 4 and 2 red for a 4/4 giant berserker. And when it ETBs, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn, and you can foretell it for 4 and a red. Again, looks pretty trashy on first read, but this reminds me an awful lot of Flamekin Zealot, which also kind of looked like a trash card on first read, but is proven to be an integral card in so many different strategies over the years. You have a lot of decks that set up an OTK, a one-turn kill, by creating a bunch of tokens all in one turn, and Flamekin Zealot gets reanimated onto the battlefield from the graveyard and gives all those tokens haste and a nice little boost so that you can swing all at one time in like Bridge from Below decks and all other kinds of OTK tokens decks. And this has a very, very similar, as a matter of fact, pretty much the exact same effect and gives it self-haste as well. So pretty interesting little card for standard right here. You might not even reanimate it. Maybe you just play it for its foretell cost onto a board full of tokens after like a Reverent Hoplite. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here, spitballing a little bit, but on a board full of tokens, this could be a great way to finish the game all at one time. Not saying it's going to do anything in standard or historic, but at least remember that it exists because cards like it have been important in the past. But I also liked Contagious Fear yesterday. This is 4 mana, 2 and 2 black for a sorcery. Choose a creature type. Each creature other than the chosen type gets -3/-3 until end of turn, and that is a pretty cool effect. How much would you pay for a one-sided sweeper? In the past, they've been relatively expensive, but 4 mana is not too much to ask for this ability, kind of a reverse Witch's Vengeance, I guess. But if you're into elves or knights or really any deck that's tribal and gets to play black, then suddenly this looks really, really good on a board full of creatures or in best of 1 or against aggro or whatever. I'm not sure this is main deckable in best of 3, unless the format is heavily aggro, but right now this takes out a few creatures in Gruul like Mammoths and Brushfire Elementals and Edgewall Innkeepers and Bone Crushers and whatnot. Those are all really good targets. In Rogues, this kills just about every creature in the deck too, so right now this has a decent spread of playability even in the main deck, so I wouldn't be surprised if a few tribal decks tried to make this work, especially the Elves decks. But I guess my number 2 card from Friday is another card that reminds me of a card that I have played a lot in my day, and that is Glorious Guardian. 4 mana, 2 and 2 white for a 3/4 Angel Cleric with Flash and Flying. This already sounds familiar. When Glorious Guardian enters the battlefield, exile any number of target non-angel creatures you control until Guardian leaves the battlefield. You can foretell this for 2 and a white. So is that you, Restoration Angel? It's not quite resto. You don't get the creatures back immediately, which was like 75% of the power of Restoration Angel, but make no mistake, this is still a decent creature, mostly because of the flash body, kind of a mini Yorion in some situations. You'll flash it in during your opponent's combat step, knowing it's going to die. You'll blink 2 of your creatures, Skyclave Apparition and something else with an ETB trigger, and then when the angel does die, you get your dudes back, you get to do cool stuff, so it all seems pretty cool to me, right? It's not quite Restoration Angel, but I guess I'm glad Restoration Angel isn't coming back, because that was a really annoying card. It's kind of a either beat him or join them situation. Back in the day, I played a lot of Restoration Angel and Thragtusk, but I don't know that I could ever say I really wanted to play that deck. It was just the thing you played. But I'm not sure we'll get into that situation with Glorious Guardian, but maybe we will, because the flash on this makes it extremely flexible whether you play it at the end of your opponent's turn or during their combat step. If you have a way to sacrifice it, leads to a lot of cool shenanigans. So I like this card, and it really remains to be seen how powerful it actually is in Standard, but it looks mighty powerful. Even a fixed Restoration Angel looks dangerous. But what was my favorite card from yesterday? Well, it's pretty much everyone's favorite card from yesterday. Finn, the Fangbearer, 1 and a green for a 1/3 legendary human warrior. That's right. Finn the human. It's got Death Touch, and whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So on its face, I guess it's great to go back to the old poison ability rather than infect itself, because this doesn't wither creatures or anything, and that's always unfair. But of course, this only triggers on Death Touch, so you're not really withering your opponent's creatures, you're just killing them outright. Is that really more fair? Anyway, I do like this just as much as everybody else, but I will also acknowledge that it's not the best card in the world. I've heard a lot of people call this broken, it's going to destroy standard, and it's poison for the next 2 years. Get ready for it, boys. But I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I mean, you have to draw it in the first place. It's legendary. You have to actually get through with at least like 5 creatures to actually win the game. It's a lot harder than it sounds. So I don't think the card is anywhere near broken. I just think the card is a lot of fun, and we're going to try to do fun stuff with it. That's about it, in standard, and especially historic. There's a lot of cool, like, Death Touch centric options to play with this. In historic, you get the 4-mana Vraska if you want it. In standard, you even get like Hooded Blightfang to go with this, so you're killing your opponent off of drains or poison. Pick your poison. Right, either way, your opponent's going to be dead. So I really like this. There's a ton of like 1-mana Death Touch creatures in both formats, standard and historic. This even somehow makes Questing Beast better. If your opponent's not dying from the damage Questing Beast is dealing to it, well, they may be dying from the poison counters they can't block, because all they have is like 2 power creatures and under. In historic, there's some really funny stuff you can do with this, like Tetsuko Yumezawa in a board full of like 1-power Death Touchers that are now unblockable thanks to Tetsuko. There's like Spark Double, which can basically make 2 copies of this on the battlefield at the same time, so your opponent gets like 4 poison counters whenever something hits. Even in standard, note that this is a warrior, so if you have a core Blade Master and an equipment, well, suddenly you equip Finn. Whenever it gets through, it gives them 4 freaking poison counters, because yes, double strike works that way. Just absolutely crazy. Some of the silly garbage you can do with this card, but at the end of the day, it's probably all just a little bit too cute, but that's the kind of stuff I like. But ladies and gentlemen, you finally made it. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. I hope you were able to survive the initial 5 or 6 minutes of this video, because it has all come to this. Your life has culminated in finally getting to see Rootless Yew. 5 mana, 3 and 2 green for a 5/4 Treefold. When it dies, search your library for a creature card with power or toughness 6 or greater, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Okay, so let's talk. I actually really like this card, despite the fact that it is relatively expensive. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. 5 mana is a lot to pay for this. But if your opponent does take it out, which they're incentivized to do, because it's a 5-power duder that's going to start beating their face in, when they do take it out, suddenly you just get whatever you want, like the biggest thing in your deck, for free, put it in your hands. So if they do deal with this, they're suddenly going to find themselves in a situation where they have to deal with something even bigger and better than it. Like, imagine a situation where you play Rye, I like to call him Rye, and then you're actually able to untap on your next turn with Rye still in play. At that point, got all your mana open to you, you can swing in with it. And if your opponent gang tackles it to take it down, which again, they're incentivized to do, to not take a buttload of damage in the next few turns, then it dies. You might trade it with a creature or 2, and you get to search up whatever you want with all of your mana still available to you. So if you dropped a land and Rye died, suddenly you have 6 mana open to do a lot of ridiculous garbage. On the other hand, though, Rye doesn't necessarily have to last a turn to do something cool for you. If you play Rye and you say go and your opponent Heartless Axe it or something, you still get to search up something way better than a vanilla 5/4. So you got that going for you, too. And when it comes to looping, Rye is that dude. If you want some cool commander tech, one of the coolest things I could think to do with this was Kolfanor, because not only if Kolfanor is your commander does this work somewhat well with it, but if Kolfanor is just in your 99 somewhere, this works really well with it too, because you can do reanimation loops with them. Same is true of Muldrotha. If Muldrotha is your commander, this works pretty well with it. So if you have a way to sacrifice you every turn, you can play it from your graveyard, kill it that same turn, and then go search something up literally every turn. But conversely, if Muldrotha's just in your 99 somewhere and Rootless Yew dies, you go get Muldrotha, play it, and then bring the Rootless Yew back to do more tutoring. Or if you got like a Laboratory Maniac out when Rye dies, you just go grab your Leveler and win the game when you play. It seems pretty good to me. I should also point out, by the way, that Phyrexian Dreadnought and Death Shadow are both cards that fit this condition, and they only cost 1 mana to play, so when Rye dies, you should have a mana laying around to play either one of those when you search them up. A lot of cool stuff you can do with Rye, I'm telling you, but obviously I'm kind of the standard guy around here, so I should probably get to those interactions. Probably my favorite potential combo, in quotation marks, with Rye in Standard is Death's Oasis. This seems pretty cool. When Rye dies, not only do you get the Death's trigger so you can go search up something bigger than Rye, but you can grab a 4-drop from your graveyard and put that in your hand. That seems pretty nice. But when you play the 6-drop, or the 6 or 7 or 8 toughness or power creature that you searched up with Rye, and it dies, then you get to bring Rye back from your graveyard, put it in your hand, play it again, and keep looping. So Death's Oasis, even though this doesn't seem like the most powerful or fastest engine in Standard, it still seems like a relatively powerful and annoying engine to have to deal with in Wars of Attrition. And of course, on those turns where Rye dies and you do have all your mana available to you, go grab something with a cool ETB trigger like Massacre Worm. If you want to do that, seems good. Or you could grab like a Realm Cloak Giant and then cast the adventure half of it to sweep the board. Not a bad call. Go grab a Burning Rune Demon and get that ridiculous enter the battlefield trigger. Go grab a Kogla and play it and fight whatever killed your Rye to avenge it. That seems nice too. You can grab a Kroxa if that's important to your deck. Egon, that new 3-mana 6/6, should be easy enough to play it when Rye dies. It only costs 3 mana. You can grab an Auspicious Sterix from your deck and mutate it onto something. You can grab an Elder Gargaroth just because it's really good. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do in Standard. Maybe you want to play a Vorinclex or two in your deck. Well, this is a good way to go search up your Vorinclex and play it. It's a lot better than a vanilla 5/4. If your opponent found a way to remove your vanilla 5/4, they're going to really need to find a way to remove that 6/6 trampling boy. Altogether, I know that it doesn't look like the most impressive card in the world on the surface, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that a tutor on a giant body can do for you, right? Like I've already said, I really like when tutors can affect the board state the turn that you play them. And even though this, again, doesn't tutor the turn you play it, minus any sacrifice shenanigans that you might have open to you. That's something to think about. Even though it doesn't tutor the turn in ETBs, it still greatly affects the table by very likely being the biggest creature on the board, and then when it dies, it goes and gets something even bigger, and that's the kind of thing I like. But that, ladies and gentlemen, was the awesome power of Rootless Yew. Rye or Ryan? Maybe his full name is Ryan, but anyway, that's all I've got for this one. I hope you liked it. Any interactions, especially standard interactions, that I missed with Rootless Yew, make sure you let me know down there in the comments section, and let me know how you felt about my favorite 3 cards from yesterday. And is that new Flamekin Zealot any good? Probably not, right? I'm well aware of that, but let me know. Maybe there's something. Maybe there's something going on with that card, but I doubt it. Anyway, just let me know how you felt about Rootless Yew down there in the comments section. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and sub to the channel for more Kaldheim stuff. Not only spoilers, but top 10 list, the sleepers list, the best cards in the set list, the deck techs when that happens, which should be really, really soon. So lots of cool content coming up. We're trying to get to... I was going to say we're trying to get to 150K subscribers, but not, screw that. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers, so I need every single one of you that's watching this video to hit subscribe right now. Help us get there. But aside from that, if you want to watch me play Magic and possibly other video games and whatnot, or just talk about spoilers on Twitch, you can do that. It's just twitch.tv/SBMTGDev. See how easy that is to remember? It's super easy. Just go over there. We have a lot of fun, and I will be streaming again really soon. But aside from that, if you really want to help the channel out, go to patreon.com/SBMTG, or I'll make it easy for you. Just hit the link in the description. $1 a month is all I ask, and with that pledge, you can vote on the first decks of the season once we actually get to a legal Kaldheim standard. So, seems like a pretty good deal to me. $1 a month isn't too bad. If you don't have the Skrill, don't worry about it. But if you do worry about it. I hope it keeps you up at night. If you have the money to donate $1 and you don't do it, well, I don't want to wish ill on anybody. I don't want to be that guy. But if you have $1, it would really help me out. Can I hold $1? But aside from that, I guess I'm pretty much done for this one. So I'll catch you cats later. I'm done from the place. Thanks for watching, my wizards. Spread love and be kind.